We're going to be talking about Volkswagen. So Volkswagen has just bought a second Additive Industries MetalFab system. Additive Industries, the Dutch powder fusion firm that pioneered kind of putting a lot of post-processing and treatment processes in the same kind of system by creating a modular system that kind of works like a production line to reduce the post-processing costs and keep everything in a protected atmosphere. And Volkswagen, of course, is a giant car maker. So that's very good for Additive Industries, which of late has had some executive shuffle-ups and stuff, and needs to really show a lot of resilience and continued growth in a market where a lot of other companies are much bigger than it. So this is a great deal. It comes at a very welcome time for Additive Industries, and it's great for Volkswagen as well to show their continued interest in additive. So Volkswagen have been doing a lot of stuff with additive, mass customization stuff, very high-end things like designing high-end kind of unique kind of components, and also in some other lower volume vehicles. And now it's using this mainly, we think, at this point for tooling. The example they gave at one point was for the production of the Volkswagen Tiguan. They were using like a nozzle, like a tooling nozzle. For that nozzle, they would print about 1,000 of these a year, and it replaces a welding component. The welding component has to be put together by manual labor, and apparently this 3D printed nozzle tooling part is 650% cheaper. So in a company that is as cavernous and gigantic as Volkswagen, we can see a lot more applications here. Everybody's always talking about, tooling in the sense of either conformal cooling or in the sense of manufacturing aids directly like jigs and fixtures. But there's a ton more out there in paint and in washing and in robots and end of arm tooling for robots and other things to do with injection molding and other tools for workers and all this kind of stuff. So only that is in and of itself a very, very big market. I think a lot more stuff can be done in such a huge company just in tooling. It doesn't even have to be mold tooling or something. It could be tons and tons of different stuff they could be working on. So this is very good stuff, and we hope that this means that Volkswagen can advance into a more higher volume, more mass customization ready kind of approach with metal printing and help economize this going forward. The next news is also, it actually has to do with AP Works. And AP Works is actually also a Additive Industries client. And AP Works is a company that usually makes aerospace and other kind of industrial parts. And they use Scalmalloy, which is aluminum that they've developed, which is kind of very, very high strength aluminum, and it prints very, very quickly. This means that on powder bed fusion, it actually ends up being cheaper than a lot of other materials because we can make the part in shorter time with a relatively, the pricing of the material is relatively okay. And that means the machine utilization is much better, and then we get much better economics for these parts. We get really high strength parts that can be printed in relatively big machines, and then also get good economics. The AP Works actually previously kind of showcased motor parts and other kind of chassis components and all sorts of other stuff. And it's got service bureau partners that are kind of qualified to run Scalmalloy. It's also trying to print them themselves. Now, what they're doing right now is I think is something really, really smart. Now, we've been talking for a while now about 3D printing bike components, and we see a lot of innovation, especially from small companies, in either bike components like power meters, bike components such as stems, handlebars, even frames or frame components like lugs. And we see that from kind of retail bikes, but in a really high segment like $10,000 retail bikes, and also just like bikes for track and for the Tour de France and these kind of high end kind of riding kind of applications. And we see a lot of people use the fact that we can make low volume parts that are weight saving, to put that on a bike and to make that really a feature that they sell to people. And AP Works, of course, could collaborate with Canyon or Rose or whatever, lots of companies out there. Or it could make a deal with FSA or the component manufacturer. Now, what it's done is something a little bit more interesting, I think. So I do think we'll see a lot of tie-ups between service bureaus like Hoffman and Fit and all those guys with bike manufacturers, because you don't want, as a bike manufacturer, have to wait 18 months to implement this part. Right? You don't have to want to, and also these companies are relatively small. To buy a machine, invest like, let's say 1.5 to 3 million on setting up really production capability for 3D printing, yeah, that's going to take a long time, and it's a, it's basically a bet the farm kind of engagement for a lot of these companies. So I think it makes a lot more sense than to just partner with the service bureau, let the service bureau worry about the printing side and a part of the DFAM side, and let them kind of handle requirements and really come up with where 3D printing can innovate. But what they've done now at AP Works is partner with Ben Serotta. And this is really interesting because Ben Serotta is like a bike designer. He's a legendary bike designer, like a lot of the really, really exciting American model bikes from years ago are made by Ben Serotta. And he is more than that, though, because he started a company, Serotta Bikes, as well, which is also pioneering in and of itself. It's now not affiliated with them anymore. Later on, or also at the same time, he is a pioneer in bike fitting. He's trained a ton of people in fitting bikes for people. He's come up with bike fitting systems and ways to adapt the geometry of the bike to the person. This is, of course, very, very important. I can get a standard bike in 4 sizes, and maybe it'll work for me. But maybe if the geometry was a little bit different, I would actually, with doing less effort, be more comfortable and put out more power, or I would put out more speed in less effort. Now, that's, of course, a wonderful thing. So a lot of companies have tried to make bike fitting a thing for a very long time. Now, before they would make custom tubes, for example, it's the right length for you. But of course, with 3D printing, we could do stuff that's much, much more radical. And potentially, we could do 3D scanning, combine it with a bike fitting algorithm or understanding of some sort, and then print a truly unique bike. And that could be much, much better. Again, more comfortable for your back, for example, more comfortable for the type of train you're riding, more comfortable for the type of rider or the type of position you have. Or even looking at, like, maybe you have a kind of upright position and then you have a kind of 4-over kind of racing type position. Well, maybe you can optimize your geometry for both those positions. Change that geometry, change that handlebar and that frame to really meet you. So I think this is really exciting. So again, AP Works is not really partner with a big bike company like Cannondale or whatever. No, they partner with a designer, right? A designer who has his own design kind of setup and stuff like that, and who's incredibly experienced with bike fitting and customizing bikes. So of course, to me, this points to them trying to unlock a Scalmalloy 3D printed mass customized bicycle. I think that was absolutely fantastic. I think that the options are there to do this in a really great way. Now again, I've said this before, a lug customization where we get the unique lugs customized and we use standard tubes, let's say, would of course be much cheaper. It's been done before a little bit, but if we get the right algorithm, the right understanding, the right scanning, the right measurement of people, that a lug-based customization would actually be much cheaper because we're just printing these small lug parts. Now, are they going to do this, or are they going to go for actually printing the entire frame, or do they find kind of added advantages in printing the entire frame because it has some super cool structure that absorbs impact or that acts as like a dampener or something like that? I don't know yet, but I think this is fantastic. I think every single big service bureau should run to the nearest, greatest, awesomest bike designer and do something similar to this, because we can empower that person to share their genius and their knowledge, and then we can do the production to really put a really great product on there that is kind of like, it's drop shipping, but then for all sorts of mechanical, very demanding things. So that is the news for today. My name is Norris Peels. This is 3D Printing News Unpeeled. Thanks to 3dprint.com, and I hope you found this very valuable. Have a great day.